The president of Iran has ordered the country to suspend its cooperation with the IAEA, the UN's nuclear watchdog. The IAEA had played a crucial role in ensuring Iran did not build nuclear weapons. The official suspension will further limit the IAEA's ability to monitor Iran's nuclear activities with its inspectors shut out. The United States describes Tehran's new position as unacceptable.
If Iran needed an excuse, last month's US attacks on its nuclear facilities certainly gave it one. It's formally stopped cooperating with the IAEA, the UN's nuclear watchdog. The move announced on state television, with Iran having accused IAEA head Rafael Grossi of siding with the West.
We are strongly dissatisfied with the positions and actions of the Director General of the agency. We are critical and believe that he has not acted within the framework of his technical duties and responsibilities.
It marks the breakdown of a relationship that had long been fracturing, a far cry from 10 years ago.
Today is an historic day.
That was when Iran agreed to a landmark deal with major powers to limit its nuclear program and allow thorough access to IAEA inspectors. In return, the UN lifted sanctions that had been crippling Iran's economy. The IAEA inspections were vital in keeping an eye on Iran's nuclear activities and stopping it from enriching uranium to levels that could be used for a nuclear weapon. Specifically, under the agreement, Iran could only enrich uranium to 3.67%, enough for nuclear power, but far below the 90% needed for a weapon. The deal, though, unravelled in 2018 when Donald Trump withdrew US support and reimposed sanctions on Tehran. Consequently, Iran began to ignore its commitments by limiting inspections and removing the IAEA's monitoring cameras from its sites. Last month, the IAEA warned that Iran had been enriching uranium to 60%, close to weapons grade and enough of a stockpile to make 9 nuclear bombs. Grossi also said that despite the US attacks, Iran could resume its nuclear activities, quote, in a matter of months.
Frankly speaking, one cannot claim that everything has disappeared and there is nothing there. It is clear that there has been severe damage, but it's not total damage.
Trump disputes this, but with Iran preventing IAEA inspectors from accessing sites, it's impossible to know the extent of the damage, as well as the whereabouts of any highly enriched uranium.
Let's bring in Laura Rockwood. She's a former top legal advisor at the IAEA and now works on non-proliferation at the Vienna Center for Disarmament and Proliferation. Laura, it's great to have you on the show. Iran's relationship with the IAEA is in shambles. What are the implications for global non-proliferation efforts?
I think the first thing that has to happen is we need to get back to the negotiating table. It's a very, very tense time right now. But I think if there's good news about this is that Iran has not chosen to withdraw from the NPT, from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which is the linchpin, if you will, for the non-proliferation regime. So I think focusing on that, focusing on the fact that Iran's responses vis-a-vis Israel and the United States have been somewhat restrained is good news in a time of pretty bad news.
How big a factor had IAEA inspections been in controlling Iran's nuclear ambitions?
Frankly speaking, it was the only way to keep an eye on what Iran was doing. And while the IAEA was conducting inspections under the JCPOA, it had a very broad overview of all of Iran's nuclear fuel cycle activities, not just the nuclear material and the enrichment activities, but Iran's ability to produce centrifuges to help it enrich. We had a much fuller picture of Iran's nuclear fuel cycle. And now we have none.
So what's next? What happens if and when Iran really cuts IAEA cameras and access?
One thing that we need to understand is under the JCPOA, the agency had much broader access than normal. So when President Trump withdrew from the JCPOA, some of that very broad inspection right was constrained. Iran still allowed the agency inspectors to go to all the nuclear facilities and verify the nuclear material. If the IAEA inspectors are not allowed to resume their inspections, we will lose any continuity of knowledge that we had about the quantities of nuclear material and where Iran actually is carrying out any enrichment activities.
Let's look at alternatives then. Could monitoring go around the IAEA via NGOs, for example, tech or open source tracking, possibly?
I don't see those as really very effective alternatives. Any kind of verification is good, but I don't see a good alternative to the IAEA inspections. I'm no longer with the IAEA. The IAEA has the history, the knowledge. It knows who the players were. So I think the best thing is to get the agency inspectors back in the field to be able to do that which they are very good at doing.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to look at diplomatic efforts in a second, but first, for the time being, they're kicked out. So is the IAEA still relevant, or is it slowly becoming a toothless tiger?
No. It's absolutely still relevant. It carries out safeguards in over 180 countries around the world and does so very effectively. This is unfortunate for Iran. We need to get Iran back to the table. We need to get Iran and the U.S. back to the table to try to rejuvenate something like the JCPOA. No, I think the IAEA's verification is essential to any long-term solution to this conflict.
Just very quickly before I have to let you go, it looks like trust is broken right now. Can diplomatic deals revive IAEA oversight in Iran?
The only way to do this is to rebuild the trust. I think the IAEA and the Director General, Rafael Grossi, have done the job that the member states have asked it to do. And I think the best way to recover the situation, the only way to recover this situation, is through diplomacy and dialogue.
This is Laura Rockwood, former IAEA member and now with the Vienna Center for Disarmament and Proliferation. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Nicole.